Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Soul View. This is a new show that Energized Living Today is actually putting out. And what we have done is we've taken a page from the daytime show called The View, where they have these wonderful organic conversations about all of the hot topics that are making the news. And so we decided that that's what we would do as well, only we are going to do it from the soul's point of view. Hence the name, The Soul View. And today what we are going to be talking about here is, so many people from our Energized Living Today community have been in a real quandary about everything that's going on in the world with all of the natural disasters that we've seen, all the political stuff that we've seen, some of the deaths, for various things, some of them are very violent deaths, and they're very confused. And they said, I want to live in the light. I want to live heart-centered, but I'm having a hard time right now because the news is pulling me, and what should I do? So that's where this show actually came from. Now, a couple of years ago, Lorelei, or maybe a year ago, Lorelei and I did a version of this, and we decided to go ahead and just make it a regular show. And I want to start this conversation by just introducing you to the people that are going to be part of the show. Myself, I'm Cindy Kubika, for those of you who don't know me. And we also have spiritual astrologer. And I think a lot of you that are watching, from what I can see, you know Lorelei. For those of you who don't, you are going to fall in love with her because she is a spiritual astrologer. And she is going to address all of these headlines from an astrological point of view. And we normally will have Shivani Ganel on as well, and she's from down under. She's from Australia, and she's known as a soul midwife. And what that is Shivani, what I love about her work is she looks at your natural gifts and helps you to give birth to new ideas, new way of manifesting in your life. Now, normally, as I said, she would be on the show, but they actually have storms in the area that she's in Australia, and the internet has gone out just before the show. So she's without internet. She's going to jump on if it happens to come back, but she sends her love. She wants to be here, and know that she's with us in spirit. And of course, we have our producer that you can see. A lot of people know Ferris as that guy. He's the producer of Energized Living Today and now the Soul View. And most of the time, he's going to be working behind the scenes. But today, he wanted to be here just so he can fill you in on some of the housekeeping things that you might want to consider while you are participating in the show. So Ferris, take it away.
Okay, y'all, if you'll take your cursor down to the bottom of the screen, a little toolbar will pop up down there, and there's a Q&A thing that you can click on, and there's chat. Put your questions in the Q&A, and you can also chat during the event here. In the upper right-hand corner, when you click on the Q&A and the chat, you'll notice that those windows come up and they get right in the way of everything. So if you go up to the upper right-hand corner of your screen, there's a thing that's looks like four little arrows pointing all over. If you click on that, that will take your screen out of full screen view, and that will give you room for the chat and the Q&A box to move over to the side.
And by the way, that's for those of you who are joining us on Zoom.
Now, that's right. If you're on Facebook Live, that does not apply.
Right. If you are on Facebook Live, we are going to be checking in to see if there are any questions that you have for any of us. So go ahead and put your comments below, and Ferris will be keeping up with that. And also the questions, because I can't see them on my screen here. So Ferris, if you'll just let us know,
All right.
Just raise your hand or, make funny faces. Well, you already do that. But just get ready to go. And
And one other thing, you can change the view of who's speaking up at the upper right hand corner there. It will say either on Zoom. It will either say speaker view or gallery view, and you can just play with that and see which one you prefer.
Okay, and if you have a question that you want to actually come on live and ask Ferris, they're able to do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
yes. You have to have at least your microphone working. You do not have to have your video working, but it's nice because we want to see you.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to see me.
And lucky we are.
Fair is fair.
And I'm going to take off my prayer beads. I had them on and they were hitting the table. So, Ferris, I'm being nice and taking them off so you don't hear a clink, clink, clink.
Okay. And by the way, up above my head to the left there, that is not a dead critter. That's just a cat that's above the screen.
Which one is that?
That's Rascal.
That's Rascal. Okay. He might make an appearance as...
He's at the top of the cat tower.
All three of us have cats, and cats may make appearances from time to time. Now, I want to go ahead before we bring on Lorelei, and I want to start with the breaking news. You know, every newscast, every time I turn on a TV, every time something pops up, it says breaking news. Well, with the constant flow of breaking news, it is breaking our spirit. It's keeping us down. And so I wanted to give you another option. The next time that you hear the phrase or see the phrase breaking news, put on the brakes. Break that news. Stop. Take 3 nice deep breaths. And then you can say to yourself, the news is evidence of the great awakening in this new world. It is simply the details of the metamorphosis this world is going through. Whatever else is going on, I am at peace. So that is just a new way. Do you like that, Lorelei?
I love it. I love it. I'm totally zoned out over here.
I love it because, you know, that's one thing I hear, that and, you know, at the end of the day, those are two things that I hear all the time. And so when I hear, well, at the end of the day, it seems like every newscaster says that at the end of the day, well, at the end of the day, I am grateful. So each time that they say it, I answer, I am grateful. So those are just two ways of transforming the news that we are hearing that just comes at us sometimes so fast and furious into a way that keeps us enlightened. It keeps our vibration high. So Lorelei, what do you think of that?
I love it. I think, you know, because we know that whatever we focus on is what we get. So the fact that there's so much going on in the world that's so unsettling and disquieting, and depending on how people are wired, the more empathic, the more water, I would say, somebody has in their chart, they're going to absorb what's going on. So to be able to, so to speak, nip it in the bud, you know, doesn't mean these things aren't happening, but how we choose to think about these things, that is our choice.
You know, it's funny. I love that you just said that, because I have become a casual observer, and I truly do go to the soul's view, because if I land on earth and I look at all that's going on, Lorelei, I can become so overwhelmed and so angry and so disheartened and in disbelief. And now I'm just, you know, we've said this before. Wow, look at that. So-and-so just resigned. Isn't that interesting? Let's look at the whole picture of why that would be. And, you know, you and I have these conversations all the time. So,
for years, we've had these conversations.
That is exactly right. And when you observe it from a soul's point of view, then, you know, it's so much easier to digest, because you're just going, yeah, this is the unfoldment of the awakening of the world in a whole new way. This is the new world.
Yeah.
So I love it. I want to go ahead and start, Lorelei, with you talking a little bit about the cosmic weather, which is what I love to call it, because lots of stuff's going on. that you each might be feeling some really interesting energy right now. So,
Yeah.
Lorelei?
Yeah, and I also sort of call this the state of the universe.
I love that too.
Yeah, and so it's very interesting because all of the planets that we work with have been moving forward for the last 2 months. So there's been a lot of momentum in everybody's life, be it for ill or good. In other words, there's been a lot of moving forward. Well, tomorrow, the planet Jupiter, the planet of wisdom and growth and optimism, the planet that's associated with you Pisces folks or people with Pisces energy and people with Sagittarius energy, Jupiter is literally standing still in the sky now, getting ready to go what we call retrograde, appear to go backwards tomorrow night. I think it's 11:42 p.m. Eastern time, so adjust it for your time zone. So when planets are standing still, so to speak, their energy is louder. And here's the planet of wisdom and growth and optimism that's in the sign of Scorpio. Jupiter's been in Scorpio since last November. And it's an interesting position because Jupiter's the big planet, again, of optimism, enthusiasm, understanding, philosophy, humor, and it's in the most powerful, deep, intense, dark sign in the zodiac. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we all have been having and will have an even greater opportunity to explore greater truth that may look like, and Cindy, you've been so guided around I'll let you talk about that, the dark side of the light chasers. What I was going to say, our dark side, the shadow side, the part of us that we don't want to admit to or own up to. I'm not jealous. I'm not manipulative. I'm not angry. I'm not sad. Well, that's ridiculous. We're all of that. And so there's more of an opportunity than usual now with Jupiter and Scorpio, where it has not been for 12 years, to take parts of us out of the closet. So the fact that you were guided to reread The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford, how beautiful is that? Because there's wisdom in the shadow. There's wisdom in the dark side. And, when people say, and you've all said it, I've said it, we've all said it, oh, that's just not me, right? Something happens, you go, that's just not me. I'm not that angry, or I'm not that, again, controlling, manipulative, whatever it is. Well, it's all us. So what's happening on the planet now in terms of all of these abuses of power that are coming to light, whether it's Hollywood, it really, I'm not being insensitive to anybody's journey, but it doesn't matter whose name we put on it. Doesn't matter who we call it that is the perpetrator, because have you all noticed, we've all been the perpetrator and we've all been the victim. So this is a cleansing. Jupiter in Scorpio is a cleansing. It's like what I believe whatever is coming up to be healed and is coming up to be regenerated. So again, Cindy, the fact that you were guided to reread that, I'd love you to speak more to that since you've just reread it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the things, and by the way, you're going to see me looking over at my notes over here and also just keeping up with the questions that are coming in. I was actually, I'm also writing a book along with this journey. I'm writing a book, and it's very interesting because what we're going to be talking about here is exactly what the book is going to be about. And I'll talk more about that in the future. And I was guided. I had some spiritual downloads of different books to read. The very first one was actually Fahrenheit 461. I've got that name right, don't I, Ferris? 461, the number?
Isn't it? 451?
Is it?
I can't remember.
Ferris, we can't hear you. So, okay. For some reason, his sound.
481.
481. Okay. It's been a while. It was a couple of months ago.
Or 485. You've got me where I can't remember it now.
Okay. Anyways, Fahrenheit's the first part of it. I was thinking it was 461, but I'm not sure of that number. It was weird because I just got this download and I thought, what is that book? And I never read it before. It's never been anything I was even interested in. And if you choose to read the book, you will see why it makes so much sense to pay attention to it right now. Because the gist of the book is that there is so much they keep your mind, the government keeps your mind so busy all the time with all this reality TV type stuff, this entertainment, constant barrage of stuff that you can't pay attention to how you're feeling your real world. So that I thought was very interesting. And then the second book that I was told to read was, and this I haven't read in many years, which is The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And, and that made complete sense for me once I started reading that again, because I realized, and I'll talk about some of the other books that I was told to read as well. I was actually given 5 or 6 and just got another one that I'll talk about later. But The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, I realized that there's a lot of shadow that people are trying to run from in the conscious living community because of what's going on. And I have found that when I went back and read it again, a lot of us, and this is where the confusion, Lorelei, came in for many of the folks. And Ferris, I don't know why it's focused on you. I don't know if it is when I'm talking, so I just want to make sure the camera's going to the right screen. But anyways, I realized that a lot of us that are light workers became passive because we became afraid to even engage in some of the things, even though we wanted to have a conversation about what was going on around the world. We kind of hid from it. And just because we hide from something doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it isn't so. How many of us want to think that we are just all love and light, and then somebody cuts us off in traffic, and then that other dark side of us comes out, and we become a raving lunatic for a moment? Or we wake up, we think we're in a great mood, and then our kids start, stressing us out or something, or a coworker, and so other parts of our personality start to come out. Well, that's not only true for us. Each of us have a dark side, but so does our country, whatever country we're in, and so does the whole of the world have a dark side. And by hiding from the shadow does not mean it isn't so. By embracing it, you bring it out into the light. And when you bring it out into the light, it can be healed. It can be incorporated into the rest of your life. And all of a sudden the fear goes away. And when I first started this whole journey, when I was told to write this book, because it was also a download, I got 70 pages just like that. I mean, they were within just a couple of hours. I sat down and just started recording the download that I was getting. And it was so fast and furious, I could hardly keep up. In fact, at one point, I just had to, Lorelei, I had to start recording it because it was coming so fast, I couldn't type fast enough.
Wow.
To put it on paper. And then all of these books came up, and each one of them, of course, just completely made sense. Celestine Prophecies was another one. And the latest one, and this is very interesting, Animal Farm, which I read in the 5th or the 6th grade. And at the very same time, Shivani, who's not able to be here tonight, but she got the same download at the same time.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah. What we were talking about, we were going, what?
Yeah.
And very appropriate. All of them, when I read them, I was just, oh my goodness, I so understand what's going on. So, the key here is part of our wholeness is the dark side. It's not just the light. And when we hide ourselves from that, then we start experiencing some difficulties. In fact, you'll see it manifesting all over in your life. All of these people will show you what it is that you are ignoring. And people will enter your life, and all of a sudden you'll look at that and you'll think, oh, I don't like that behavior, and you'll start judging them. And then when you realize, wait a minute, like you always say, Lorelei, you spot it, you got it. And when you spot it and you go, wow, how am I like that? And you identify it and you own that part of your shadow self, then all of a sudden that's gone. Those people don't show up in your life anymore.
I mean, just that one thing. I mean, if we all knew always that whoever's in front of us, no matter how much we're attracted to who they are and we like what we see and we like being around them, or we go, oh, not that person, that sister, brother, coworker, whoever it is, that's the grist for the mill. And the thing is, there's power in the shadow. So those very things that we disown is where the power is. So this opportunity with Jupiter getting ready to retrograde for 4 months from tomorrow until July 10th in Scorpio, my sense is that we're all consciously or unconsciously going to have an opportunity to really ultimately feel more empowered by being willing to reveal and expose who we are, of course, to those that we trust. It's not just a willy-nilly thing. Okay, let me show you all of who I am. But the deep connection that can come now, and of course, a lot of that connection comes through loss, to Scorpio's death and rebirth. So it is loss, whether it's the loss of a pet or a person or a job or a way, a state of health. It's really being able to connect to the power in that. And so, especially now in the next 4 months, pay close attention to those that come into your world, because they're going to bring such an opportunity for you to know a part of yourself that you may not know. And in that is tremendous power. So it'll be really interesting to see, what comes up for folks in this time period.
What I really love about what we're doing is this is about becoming united once again. There's been a great division, and I was shown that division again. Talk about not facing your shadows. Lorelei, I spotted it. I got it. And every time I turn around, I ran into somebody where that divisiveness was really prevalent. And it was at the forefront of the relationship. And when it happened between myself and my uncle and my aunt, I thought, wow, what is it that I am not facing? What is it that I'm not seeing within myself that I need to take a good look at?
Yeah.
And that was awakening, because I love them. I love them so much, to my very soul. And for me, finding myself angry for what?
Wow.
It was really an eye-opening experience. And then once I spotted that and I owned my own shadow around everything that was going on, then I haven't had a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes away because it becomes incorporated. That's what whole health is all about.
Yes.
I'm a whole health educator, and you take the skinny side with the flabby side, so to speak. And it's the whole of who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, it's really not what happens or what it's really the judgment that we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's the judgment that causes pain. It's like something happens and then we judge the way we feel. So Jupiter in Scorpio is a wonderful opportunity to be able to just go a little bit deeper and create greater intimacy, that into me see with oneself first. Wow, I didn't realize I was still so jealous of this person, or I didn't realize that I'm still so angry or whatever. But then there's that place of choice. Do I embrace that part of me, or do I continue to push it away? And a lot of you watching this know this. And then those folks are going to show up that are going to mirror exactly that back to us. What I love so much, Cindy, is when, and this just happened again yesterday to me with one of my clients or a friend, is when someone in our life changes, right? In a way that we like. We go, I used to have this kind of relationship with my former husband or my brother or my mother, and they're so different now. We have a whole different relationship. I said this to my client. I said, congratulate yourself. Because I said, you shifted in order for them to shift, because we keep people on the hook, right? We see them in a certain way. We have our story down about them. We have all that evidence of that story. And when we take them off the hook, we let them show up differently because we've shifted. So to me, that is, when I see that, that is such a miracle. And someone thinks, wow, I can't believe how much he or she changed. Well, they changed because who moved, right? We moved so they could show up differently. And I believe there'll be a lot of opportunity for that now with Jupiter and Scorpio. That very thing that somebody may be holding on to about someone, you know, that they just can't let go of over a number of years, and all of a sudden it transforms, and there's a much more powerful, honest, and real connection between those two people.
I'm going to give an example of what you're talking about, because, and we've talked about this for many, many years. My husband, Gary, whom I'm madly in love with, and we have a wonderful relationship now. For a long time we didn't, and we almost, on a few occasions, we're going to go our separate ways. And my chief complaint was, I wasn't able, you know, he wasn't able to make me number one. He's an accountant. He's a numbers guy, very left brain. And he had a really hard time sometimes of making me number one. And so I felt like I was always last. And then, you know, in looking at my own shadow, when have I made other people, you know, put them last in my life? And I started listing the names of people that I said, well, I'm going to put myself first. And what happened was, because I felt that I was put last by, you know, when I was growing up, by my parents and by a few other relationships, I started putting people last. And so, you know, spot it, you got it. And once I spotted that that was something that I was doing, it healed what was going on with me. And all of a sudden, my husband started changing too. And he's become more conscious of our relationship, to the point where we're getting ready to renew our vows.
Oh,
because
nice.
we felt like, yeah, we just felt like, you know, we're married for the first time because we get each other. We are there for each other. We're each other's number one. And we're able to do that because we've done this work.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's just being completely transparent here with everybody, letting you know how this works. And once again, you know, some of the headlines that we see when we see somebody out there that we disagree with, we don't like what they're doing, and we'll continue this conversation in just a moment. But I really want you to ask yourself, I don't like this about someone, and you find yourself judging them. What is it in you that you spot, that you see in that other person that you don't like, that you're unwilling to own?
Yeah. Well, and you know, what's also interesting is there's the positive shadow also. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, and it's interesting how much we focus on the stuff that we don't like, you know, that we've shoved away, but someone perhaps has also shoved their joy in a closet, you know, shoved their playful childlike spirit in a closet. And then you meet someone, and I'm not necessarily just talking romantic, you know, you're in relationship with someone and you love being around them because your childlike spirit is meeting theirs, you know? So, you know, in other words, the beauty is that the people that are that really have what we need, always what we need to see, they always show up. And even when it's challenging for me, I'm an absolute delight about that, because it's so, you know, you talk about the law of attraction, the healing angels, you know, everyone is our healing angel. And the more we're resistant to someone, the more we don't want to be around them, the more we go, that person, that's where the greatest healing is. And we'll see, I believe there's a lot of opportunity for that with Jupiter and Scorpio. Jupiter will be retrograde until July. It will be in Scorpio until November, and then goes into Sagittarius. That's a whole other journey. But for now, I think we'll see lots of folks examining or considering therapies, different kinds of therapies, you know, to get to the root of something perhaps. And that would be very much in keeping with this kind of cosmic weather. And as I said, people having deeper conversations with certain people in their lives and being stunned by that, you know, could be a family member, could be a friend, where you go, wow, I can't believe how deep and meaningful my connection with so-and-so is now. So, you know, again, we're always at choice about how we want to feel about something, and planets don't do anything to us. So this is not about, you know, the devil made me do it, Pluto made me do it, the full moon. We are the planets, but we're always guided, you know, and I'm still stunned. I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm never jaded when I see the synchronicities. It's like, oh my gosh, look at how that confirms that, you know? And so this journey now will take people into some fascinating places where they may not have been before, but it's almost like we can find a deeper truth, which is what Jupiter is about, a deeper truth in what's maybe been very challenging or scary about ourselves. Like, oh my God, let me keep my anger in the closet, you know, or let me keep my control issues or my helplessness or my, you know, overwhelm or whatever it is, let me keep it in the closet. And by just allowing the opening there and trusting, you know, that all things work together for good and the universe does have our back, even if it doesn't look that way.
And, you know, you just mentioned something just a moment ago, and that's the law of attraction. And I want to talk about that for just a moment as we look at this confusion amongst the, you know, conscious living community about everything that is going on. Remember, the people of the light might have one way of looking at things, the light workers out there, the conscious living folks, but not everybody's where we are. And collectively, as a collective consciousness, we have put out into the universe that we wanted change. We wanted to get rid of big government. We wanted to, you know, to throw out all the alligators, you know, from the swamp. And we didn't say we didn't want bigger alligators, though. You know, we weren't clear. We weren't clear on what we wanted. We did not say specifically what it was we were looking for. So the universe gave us, and in the wildest possible way, gave us what we asked for. But because we weren't specific, the universe decided for us. So a lot of what's happening right now, it's not happening to us, it's happening for us, but it's not in a way that we would have envisioned because we didn't have clarity around it. Or some of us might have had clarity and a lot of people didn't. Remember, we are a collective consciousness. It's not just about all of you out there watching. It's not just about me and Lorelei. It's the whole of the world. And we have to be specific in what it is that we want, or we're going to get what the universe decides we need. And things have shaken up like they never have before. And what's very interesting, and this is the way that I describe it in the book, Lorelei, I talk about the big forest fire that they had in Yellowstone Park. And, you know, when the forest fire came in, you know, they lost everything in parts of Yellowstone Park. Everything. All the animals were gone. There was such devastation, you know, no plants left or anything. And then after the devastation, then the wolves come in. The wolf's always the first animal to come back because they're the predator. And they will come in and start, you know, hunting around. Well, when the wolf comes in, then it gives the beaver permission to come in, and it is the beaver that creates the ecostructure. And without the ecostructure, nothing can grow. And that is what we are experiencing around the world, not just here in the US. And I see some questions over here about Trump, and we'll talk about Trump in just a little bit here, and his sign, because we're getting some questions about that. But I want to say that it's happening everywhere. All countries are being affected in one way or another right now, not just here in the US. It's happening everywhere. So it's really interesting. And the wolves will come in. That's who we're going to see next. That's what I meant by, you know, some of they wanted to drain the swamp, but they brought in bigger alligators. And we may not like them. Well, that's the wolves. And we can look further down the road and know that the beavers will come in and they will rebuild our ecostructure. So I know that that's coming because it is the law of the land. It is the way that things work. And, you know, through any destruction, there's always beauty when we look on down the road. And it might not happen immediately. We might not see it immediately, but we will see it. Keep your eyes open for it and stay focused on it, because if you focus on the, and I've said this before, if you focus on the who and not the what is happening, then you're going to stay in the shadow.
Right.
See, and you're going to stay in judgment, and you're not going to be able to move forward in your life, and you're going to get mired down. And here's another phenomenon that I have seen again and again. People are making themselves very sick over all of this.
Mm-hmm.
They're in such anger all the time. People are getting sick, Lorelei.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, it's all energetic. I mean, in other words, that internalizing of whatever's happening. And again,
or being expulsive.
Yeah.
A lot of people are expulsive about it. Yeah.
Well, and again, you know, I was just thinking about it for myself. The judgment of things that I have felt over the years is what was the pain, not the overwhelm or not the fear or not the confusion. It was the judgment of feeling that, you know? Mm-hmm. And so again, whatever's coming up for anyone, this is a time where we all need more than ever to learn how to be our own parents, our own mother and father. We all know that in order to have a healthy, you know, life, to be able to take responsibility for providing that for ourselves. I mean, at least unless we're babies or we're old and infirm, we are responsible for what we feel. And you know, there's a lot of stuff now that's, you know, bubbling up on the planet that people are just not taking responsibility for. And I really believe that part of this is probably not the right word, but the antidote for some of what's going on is the more alive people can be, being who they are. In other words, where the light goes on because there's the passion of who you are and what you've come to deliver, what you've come to share on the planet, and how to be of value. And so even with all of this that's going on, the aliveness that I'm seeing in people stepping out, giving themselves permission to be who they are, you know, unleashing the genius part of you. Every one of us is a unique expression of the divine, and that's what the planet needs now. You know, in order to counterbalance what's happening, it's calling us all out to a greater honest level of self-expression, because we've each come in with our own unique way to do that.
Well, Ferris has some questions here, and before we move forward, I want to go ahead and I see them, Ferris, but I'm not able to read them, so you're going to have to come on. It's quite a distance away, my monitor, so I'm not able to read them. And Ferris?
I told you that monitor was going to be too far away. And you
well, even if it was closer, I have a hard time unless it's right in front of my face here.
And Steph finally came up with it's Fahrenheit 451.
Right.
451. Okay.
Yeah. But you caught me in the process of putting out fires. That's punny. Kathy wrote in and she actually emailed in. She's heard several times that Trump is here to eradicate our business as usual government. Is this true? And if so, are there any provisions to limit the amount of damage that he does to the country, the citizens, and the world? Does he have the blessings and support of the higher realms?
Yes, he does. I want to talk to this because the name of the book that I'm writing is actually The Beauty of Donald Trump, and please don't beat me up, anybody.
Hear her out, folks. Hear her out.
And this is, in fact, the publisher is waiting for it now. It's a pretty interesting journey. I would not have written a book like this, but my whole the whole book is all about looking at the shadows that he brings in to this world that we are now having to look at, because that's who he represents. And he has, because of his very way of being in the world, he has brought many things into the light. And it's beautiful when you look at it. You know, the women's movement is just huge. Now look at all the industries that are beginning to change. And I'm speaking from somebody that's been through some really tough things, coming from the entertainment field, and many of you have experienced those things, and to see a change happening for the first time, for women to speak out and say, I want to be paid the same as my male counterparts. Look at how that has come up. All of these things have come up because of a soul contract that Trump made before he ever got here. And a soul contract is, for those of you who don't know, I think most everyone on the line does know, but for those of you who don't know, it is a contract, it's a divine contract that we make before we come here. And the book actually starts off, and forgive me for this, and I don't know if they're going to change it or not, but it starts off with, Trump so loved the United States that he was willing to come here to be a total asshole.
Well,
and that is his job, is to be a disruptosaurus and to turn everything upside down, because what is it doing? It's making us, Lorelei and Ferris and everybody, it's making us look at our own shadows and say, wow, what do I like about what he's doing, and that I see in myself, or what don't I like that I would like to change within myself, or that I am not even acknowledging.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, Trump is a Gemini. I'm sure there would have been other presidents that would have tweeted, if we looked up their makeup or so. But the fact that he's a tweeter, I mean, that's a Gemini thing for sure. So, but what I think is so interesting, because he is so larger than life, he's got a lot of, without belaboring the astrological piece, Leo rising, Mars in Leo, he's got a larger than life. So there's a lot of attention he's always received. So what you just said, when you said it that way, it reminded me of radical forgiveness when you said that he so loved the world that he came here to be an asshole. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That's his role.
Yeah.
And to answer the other part of the question for Kathy is, if we, she said, okay, do we have to wait until everything's destroyed, or till he totally breaks down everything? If we look at it that way, no, we don't, because we have to become conscious. And that's why we're doing this show. If we become conscious of our own feelings, if we become conscious of our own shadows, the side of us, when we look at him, whether we like him or not, and we say, wow, I see in myself this in Donald Trump that I don't want to even admit about myself. When we awaken to that, it will stop. Totally. Just like in my relationship with Gary began to transform when I began to transform myself, he started transforming, and now we're on the same wavelength, and we have the most yummy relationship. It's the one I've always wanted my whole life. And we can have that within our government as well, but we have to be willing to take a look at ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and again, in terms of how he's wired, he's a wild card. He's a rebel. He's born with the planet of rebellion and awakening next to the sun. So right away, anybody born with that has come in to shake things up. Mm-hmm. And he's been shaking things up forever, obviously. Yeah. But again, it's all about, the person, it's not the person, it's the energy that we all feel. So again, when people say, God, he's so arrogant and so full of himself, true. And that could be somebody thinking, gee, I need to be more that way. I need to be more, have a sense of myself, Yes. In other words, every time I see that in him, I say to myself, well, that's part of the expression of Leo. So in a way, he comes by that very honestly. And the more people are pissed off by it or are wanting to point a finger at it, it's an opportunity to either look at, again, where one is arrogant oneself, or where a person is feeling, wow, I need to be able to be more comfortable in, presenting myself in terms of how people see me, or whatever that is.
And then on the flip side of that, Lorelei, is, where am I arrogant?
Yes, totally.
Got it. You got it. Where am I arrogant in my life? Where am I untruthful? where do I spread fake news?
Yes.
You know, where do I exaggerate the facts? You know, so you look at both sides. Where can I use this skill? You know, when you have somebody and you don't want to hurt their feelings, or you're trying to avert a big explosion at work or in a relationship or something, you know, sometimes we have to have alternative facts and you know, stated in such a way that it's not going to create a big issue for us. There's a time that if you know how to do that, it's a usable skill that you may need. You know, one of the things that Debbie talks about in her book, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, is she talks about, you know, this seminar leader recognizing that she was a bitch. And she thought, oh my gosh, I know I am, but how did you know that? I'm trying to be all love and light. How did you know that I was a bitch? I didn't think it, I thought I was covering it up. And she said, why are you ignoring this part of who you are? Because when you're working on rebuilding your house right now, right? So if somebody is not doing their job, isn't it your inner bitch that says, wait a minute, you're not getting the job done. So, and I need you to do this. Isn't that the power that you can draw from, that can actually stand up for you and your rights when you hire a contractor? So we can do that within our own lives when we look at the light side of those, and or the things that we've been trying to bury, and go, wow, that's me. And here's how I can use it for the good.
Yes. And you know, every single, for lack of a better word, transaction in a relationship that is conscious between two people is not just about the healing of those two people in that relationship. It's healing the planet. So every time there is something let go of in a relationship and something is transformed, it's healing the planet. You know, as above, so below, as so within, so without. So it's not just about each of us in our own personal lives. It is. But if we intentionally and consciously clean up our act, so to speak, in different relationships, that's only going to benefit the planet.
Okay, that's a good segue. Because Marguerite asked, has the world reached critical mass thinking as far as we rather than I or me?
That's a great question. I would certainly say we're more there than we've ever been, for sure. And in the last 2 years, because Jupiter's been in Scorpio since last November, and then the year before in Libra, well, those are the two signs of relationship. So here's the planet of truth, having been in Libra and now Scorpio. So I would say, again, we are more there than we've ever been before, for sure, in terms of the understanding of that. And that's actually pretty exciting when you think about it, because then when we behave in a relationship in a certain way, yes, it is about that relationship, but it filters out, because we're all connected, to everything else. And I think people are more aware of that now than they've ever been before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well said.
And we had a hand go up just a little while ago for somebody that wanted to come on and ask a question, but the hand went right back down before I could even see who it was. So if you want to raise your hand and come on live and ask a question, do it.
Yes. Ferris, did you check Facebook also to see?
Yes. Darlene asked, or just said, a very important concept, learning that everything has meaning has lifted my spirit. Thank you for sharing. We have to be what we want. That's her download for today. Not I miss you, but I love you, and I'm manifesting our meeting. I like that.
Oh, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And by the way, folks, I have to excuse myself for just a second. If I don't let this cat in, he's wiggling the door. And it's going to get noisy in just a second. So I'm going to mute myself as I go to do this. So Lorelei, you want to go ahead and
take it away? Okay. So I do have a couple things to say that I think will be hopefully very useful for all of us. and just kind of to reduce some of the cosmic weather down to like 2 or 3 things that you can really take away from this. And one of them is, I already said, that we're in a cycle, Jupiter and Scorpio, of being able to reveal and expose who we are in order to create deeper connection with ourselves and others. We are also in a cycle where you have more than ever, or more than in a long time, the opportunity to, and I'm speaking as if I'm speaking to each of you individually, to give yourself permission to be who you are without apology. Like using all of what, again, you came in with, that's Saturn in Capricorn for those astrology buffs, really being able to be more of your own authority than you may have felt in a long time. And it's also a time for all of us of unleashing our genius. Genius being that, and it's not about a job, but it's a way of being that is your way of being. That is your genius. When we're in service to others, giving what we've got, that's the genius that we are. And so the universe is calling us more to that now. And what I was talking about before, it's the same, that feeling of aliveness, that feeling of aliveness when you're so jazzed by something. And, you know, a lot of times people think, well, I can't be full of joy. How can I be happy because of what's going on in the world? Well, guess what? Yes, what's going on in the world, there's always going to be stuff going on in the world, but your joy and your happiness can be contagious. You know, when you see someone, you know, that's smiling, whether it's the person in the grocery store or whoever, it can shift our day. So never be talked out of your joy, whatever that is, because by spreading that and by making that, you know, an infectious, contagious kind of thing, that's a good thing, you know? So it's not about, I have to be, you know, sad and downtrodden because of what's going on. There's no question, but nothing can steal our joy unless we let it. And by allowing ourselves to share the joy of our spirit with others, that's only, again, going to help uplift the planet than bring us down more.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. You know, I think about Thich Nhat Hanh and what was his quote or the story? He said something about, my greatest fear was that I would begin to hate my enemy. And he was held in captivity for many, many years. And, you know, he was a prisoner for many years. And that was his greatest fear, that he would hate his captors. And so what you're saying to me, I think of that story, Lorelei, of, you know, sometimes the very things that keep us captive in our lives, or feels like it, keeps us boxed in.
Yeah.
If we hate that,
yeah,
if we send it hate, it will keep us captive.
Yes, absolutely.
If we look at it and start examining the walls and say, isn't that interesting? What happens is those walls become transparent, and pretty soon they're gone and you're able to just walk right through. So it doesn't matter if they're physically still there or not, they will become transparent for you. That's the soul view.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Ferris, other questions?
Couldn't unmute myself. Nope, not right now.
Okay. I want to talk, one of the questions that I got via email, people wanted you to talk about Trump's chart just a little bit more. And
okay.
He's like, I know that you talked about him being a Gemini, and that makes so much sense to me. But if you want to talk just a little deeper.
Yeah. But it is interesting that, you know, when people talk about him tweeting and what he tweets and whatever, as I said, that it's certainly a very convenient way to communicate very quickly, you know. So while he's a Gemini, it's very interesting because you know, he was I think it went to military school when he was younger. So while he's a rebel on the one hand, there's a great deal of conservatism in the chart as well. A lot of Cancer energy, real estate. I mean, interesting. The family was in the real estate business. He was born at a full moon, and anybody born at a full moon often lives their life under a bright light. You know, there's a lot of attention drawn to someone born at a full moon, because a full moon person is really learning more than a lot of us how to balance between themselves and others. So, right away, the full moon energy is very kind of frenetic and electric, if you will. But again, the fact that he's born with the wild card planet, with the awakening, the planet Uranus, next to the sun, just when people think they've got him pegged, he's going to do the opposite or do something, that takes people by surprise. So there's a lot of surprise that has gone on. But, when he first declared his candidacy back, I guess it was 15, right? And it was right around his birthday. And I remember looking at his chart, and it wasn't because I liked him or didn't like him, but I just kind of knew he was going to win. I just looked at it and I went, and this is what I believe, and this would be the soul view again. I think Trump's soul is going, what? President? I'm supposed to be president of the United States? What? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to live in the White House? I mean, in other words, that it's this calling. In other words, like, I'm supposed to do this. Now, he doesn't know this. His human side doesn't know what I'm saying, but from a soul perspective, I have a lot of respect for that. Just the fact that anybody would show up in that definition of president. And again, there's no question that to him, it could be like, toys. He could feel like he's playing with toys. We see the drama, we see the childish side, and we also see the childlike side of him also. And the part of him that can establish rapport. He's got a lot of Cancer energy. Well, Cancer energy can do, very well a kind of a one-on-one and relating to every person. So, we all make choices. So someone could come in born the same day, same time as Donald Trump and make totally different choices. Twins that come in essentially with the same inventory or the same makeup can make different choices. So, he's come in certainly, and we've seen this just in the different iterations in his life, the various entertainment things and the thing that he's built. Well, again, we are a choice here to believe all things work together for good or not. And I believe that there's not an exception to that, even when it most seems like there is. That ultimately, because there is a lot of upheaval that's been going on the planet for the last few years of the breakdown of government structures and the people rising up, if you will. Well, as a result of him being in office, a lot of people are rising up, taking a stand, activism, looking at the political scene. I mean, I have many friends who have taken a stand and, are showing up in all kinds of different ways to protest or agree. But the point is, if he weren't doing what he's doing, other people wouldn't be having the reactions that they're having. So again, we can believe that all things work together for good or not. And I choose to believe that because I'm a Pollyanna.
We talked about that.
And I'm proud of it.
Yeah, we talked about who are we? And I would like to invite each of you to ask yourself who you are. And Lorelei says she's a Pollyanna. She's thinking of the bright side. And I have the Pollyanna-ish side, but I'm also a warrior. And when I see something happening in the world, I must move forward. And there are those of you who are going to be called to be activists, and some of you are going to be pacifists, but there are ways to be that, because you can be a passive activist or an active pacifist. And I was thinking about this a lot today, in fact. And for those of you who are passive by nature, but you are actively sending love and light, if you are doing this shadow work and looking at, wow, what am I seeing in some of these leaders, not only Trump, but other leaders that I like or don't like, what am I seeing within myself, and sending light into that and raising the vibration of that. Well, you might not be out there fighting the fight, joining the resistance, but you are a person that is, you're active in your passivity. It's not just saying, I don't want to hear anything about it, just forget it. We know those people, and they're allowing, going back to the law of attraction, they're allowing whatever happened to just happen. That's what happens when you just throw up your arms. I don't want to hear about it. I just leave me alone. And we're at, okay, and the universe says, okay, then we'll present it this way. So we have to know the dangers of any of the roles that we take, the downside, as well as the positive side. The positive side of that is lots of change is going on right now. And for those of you who are like me, I'm a warrior type. I've always been that way since I was a kid. I stand up for a cause. I will speak up when it comes to the gun issues right now, and know that I am not anti-gun. I'm not. I was raised on a farm, and we were taught to shoot a gun at the age, I think I was 7 or 8 years old the first time that I shot a gun. And my dad wanted to make sure each of us knew, because we had predators on farm, that we might have a rabid dog that we have to put down or something, so each one of us had to learn to shoot a gun. And it was just part of our way of being. But
I've never touched a gun.
Really? You never did? And
ever.
And we're going to have people on all sides of that right now. But I don't think that the automatic weapons are necessary. The what do you call them, Ferris?
Assault style weapons.
Assault style. I don't think that they are necessary in any way, shape, or form. And I will stand up for that. And I will be an activist in something like that.
What are they called?
Love and light.
What are they called?
Assault weapons.
Well, isn't that an interesting word, right? Assault, right? So we can all look at where we've assaulted in our lives or been, you know what I mean? In other words, it's another way to take some of the heat off it, if you will. I mean, in other words, we all have an assaultive part of our, I don't know if that's a word, but have the ability to assault or be assaulted, So it's very interesting, the whole weapon thing, and again, I'm not taking a stand one way or the other, and that's not what our show certainly is about. To agree, it's about all of this. It's about being able to take anything that's going on and view it from another perspective, from the soul view. That's our commitment, right, Cindy?
That's absolutely it. And so, we have to be, whatever role we decide to take, own it from the heart, and move forward in the life, in your life. For those of you who have been confused as light workers or as conscious living beings, want to keep your vibration high. It's okay to be an activist and still come from the heart, knowing that you are creating change for all. So it is how you do it. When you come from the head, when you come from a place of judgment, when you come from anger, then what you are going to get back is exactly the same. So know your shadow and how you are casting that shadow out into the world, and then bring it into the light. And that makes all the difference. And, Lorelei, for a few months there, I was told by Spirit to watch all the news. And I haven't watched news in years. And I was told to watch all the news. And I found myself getting heavy and angry and judgmental and all these emotions. And I'm going, I don't want to watch this stuff. I don't want to consume this stuff. Why am I being asked to do this? And I heard Spirit say, so you would understand where people are coming from.
Right.
I had to understand.
Sure.
And as soon as I did, I went, oh, yeah.
And think about how people are internalizing what's going on, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
They don't even know that that's happening. And so life is feeling heavy for them, or there's depression, or there's physical diseases that are, and so again, a lot of this is coming up now for the healing individually and for the healing of the planet.
That's exactly it. A couple more questions.
Got a couple more
questions come in. Okay.
Someone asked if you had one message for our world family, what would it be?
Wow.
For me, Lorelei, Ferris, everybody, live from the heart.
I was just going to say that. I can't believe you said that. I swear to you, I was going to say live from your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the cosmic weather supports that, because there's and again, I'm not going to belabor this, but for the astrology buffs, the North Node, the collective destiny now, the invitation to everyone is Leo energy. Well, that is heart energy. That is living and coming from the heart. So if the choices you're making are not from the heart, they're probably not going to work out very well. So
and that's not to beat yourself up if it's coming from the head. It's just become aware that it's coming from the head, bring it into the heart. And that is, I do that all the time when I find myself judging a situation that, that happened earlier today. And I'm like, Cindy, stop, take 3 breaths. It was breaking news. And that's when I thought, like I said at the top of the hour.
I love that. Breaking news is
breaking news, that it's breaking my energy, breaking my spirit, breaking my vibration. So when I hear breaking news, I'm going to take 3 nice, beautiful, deep breaths. Everybody do it with me right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The power of 3.
And then you can come up with your own mantra, and whatever that is.
I got one. People can use if they choose. How about all my relationships mirror the love in my heart?
Beautiful.
All my relationships mirror the love in my heart.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Or what I said earlier, the news is evidence of the great awakening of a new world. It is simply the details of the metamorphosis the world is going through right now. Whatever else is going on, I am peace. I come from love. All of those, however you want to say it, come up with something. And I invite each of you to write it down, post it so that you can see it. So when you hear the words breaking news or at the end of the day, and that's the one, I hear it, in every newscast, I swear they say it about 50 times. And that's when I started saying, at the end of the day, I am peace, or at the end of the day, I am grateful. At the end of the day, I am love. So we can add that, and it brings whatever we're listening to in the news back into a conscious, heart-centered way of being in the world, instead of absorbing it and letting it send you off into another sphere you don't want to go in.
Yeah.
Ferris, other questions?
Carol wants to know, do you believe Trump will win in 2020? And she hopes he does.
Okay.
I haven't looked at that yet, but I will.
And Carol, will you tell me why you hope he does? And in fact, if someone hopes he doesn't, I'd kind of like to know why that too.
Yeah, because again, this show is not about telling somebody they're right or wrong for liking or not liking Trump. This is really about being united, coming together as a community of like-minded people, of oneness, and understanding all. Because if you like Trump, there's a reason. There's something that you see in him that maybe you're not manifesting within your own life. You might say, I like him because I'm not able to speak up for myself, and that guy speaks his mind. I've always wanted to say this to somebody, and I've never had the courage to do it. And he shows the courage that I don't see in myself. Well, that gives you permission right there to express whatever it is that you've been holding back. And then you go, wow, so that's why I happen to like this guy. Or if you don't like him, maybe there's a shadow side of you that you have been burying, saying, the one thing that I have the hardest time with is the tweets and the lies, and him contradicting himself all the time. I like consistency, and I'm looking at myself saying, when have I been inconsistent?
Mm-hmm.
When have I said something one day and said something completely different another day? Well, so, I have to look at myself going, so what is it about that bothers me? And that is going back to looking at that shadow side.
Totally. And again, the universe always supports that, but the cosmic weather now with Jupiter and Scorpio is even more so. We all have the opportunity to really discern the power that we may not have ever allowed because we've been in so much judgment of our own shadow.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I want to bring up real quick, for those of you, if you do get angry about something, if you do feel something, feel it. It's
Yeah.
like people that say, you know, when they lose a loved one and they say, well, they're in a better place now, and it's been a month, get over it. You have to feel it before you can move past it. So if there's something that you're feeling, whether it's anger or love or misunderstanding or judgment, feel what you feel, express it, and then you can deal with it. But if you don't, if you push it deep inside of you, and there's study after study after study that shows this, that dis-ease becomes disease. We are still in these human bodies, and we have to honor what this human body needs. Yes, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but in our humanness, we must express how we feel. I cannot say that enough. Let it out, and then you're not going to explode. It's like, holding that beach ball under the water, and you keep holding it under there, all of a sudden you let go, or it slips and it just flies out of the water. Well, that's what your emotions will do, and you'll find yourself just overreacting to someone and going off on somebody maybe that you don't even know because they're expressing their opinion. So feel the way that you feel, own the way that you feel, and then bring it back to being heart-centered once you have processed those feelings, and don't rush it. And I cannot say that enough. Let the process happen as it's supposed to. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. And Carol wrote back in.
Okay.
And she said, because we need more time as a society and a country to get our stuff together. She says he's got a lot of correcting of the government to do, and it will take a while as it's been in play for over 100 years. I do agree that that it's going to take some more time to get our stuff together. I don't think it's up to Trump to do that. I think it's up to Trump to start the upset of the apple cart.
He's the fire.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's up to us to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
And put them back together where they need to go.
I totally agree with that. When the morning that he won, I woke up at like 3 a.m, and I just popped up in bed and just said, oh my gosh, Trump's going to win. And I had not paid attention, by the way, to the elections, who was running, nothing, because I never watch the news. I don't usually allow that in my body because I don't like the way that it feels. And so I was shocked that I got that. And so I called Ferris, and he goes, no, he's not. And I said, yes, he is. And of course he did. And there's a reason for that. And right away, I knew that he was here. Within a month, I guess, I knew that he was here to be the forest fire. So whether or not he will still be in office in 2020, if he will be reelected in 2020, however you might feel, he's here to do exactly what's being done, is burning everything down and getting us to question ourselves. We are now crystal clear on what we don't like and what we do like, or we're getting that.
We're getting there.
I think, Lorelei?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, the first step of deliberate creation is knowing what you don't want. So
that's
a big dose of that. And that's a good thing.
That's exactly it. I'm glad that you brought up that.
Thank you, Carol. And Marguerite just wants to know, is there hope for all life on this planet, or are we at a point of no return?
If we do this work, this is not just a show, The View, the Soul View. This is truly a movement. We are inviting you to invite all of your friends. These are the organic conversations that we're going to have. We're going to be looking at the headlines, not only in the U.S., but around the world, because things are happening. In fact, Shivani was going to be talking about what's going on in Australia with this tariff that Trump is talking about putting on metals and aluminum, and what's going on there, but she's not here. So we'll do that another day. But we will look at what's going on and how that's going to affect us on a soul level, and each of us learning to process what's going on. It's so key in getting through all of this. If we look at it from an enlightened point of view, bring those shadows out of the dark into the light, then we can get through this much faster. And Trump won't have to be here in 2020. He can go back to his life before, which I know he misses. I feel that. And by the way, a couple things that I want to mention very quickly, and we're a little over our hour. I apologize, everybody. But a couple things that I want to talk about. For those of you who read auras, I want you to read Trump's aura, and it does change. And one thing that I will say, well, I'm not going to say anything. We'll talk about this next week, because I want to know what you see, and at different times what it is that you see.
Yeah, you've primed the pump. Don't.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what.
Don't fill the bucket.
Right. And this other part, it's going to take too long. So the other part, I will leave that for next week too.
Okay. And by the way, Lorelei, I believe you talked about other presidents. I don't think Jefferson would have tweeted, but I think he would have had a blog.
That's funny. I love it. Well, do we have any last questions, everybody? And by the way, this show is to answer questions, because once again, as I said, this is a movement. If we come together and we understand this, and we are conscious about how we move forward, then we can do this much quicker together, united, than we can separately. So let's come together and talk about this. This is that we're not, this is voluntary on all of our part, by the way. Each one of us are volunteering our time. As we start off, we're going to do twice a month. As we grow in popularity and get the word out there, then we will, if we see that there's a need, we will do this every single week. So we will meet again in 2 weeks. And again, those of you who are who see auras, I want to hear. And Lorelei, what do you think?
We'll be meeting on this. The spring equinox is the day before, so we'll be in the new season with that, the whole year starting.
Oh,
so that's
cool. And just past my birthday. My birthday is
past your birthday, right?
Yeah, that's the beginning of my new year. And by the way, I want to say also, keep in mind this is an 11 year. It's an 11 universal year. It's a gateway. We are exactly where we're supposed to be. Everything that's going on is perfect for this year. And it's going to be remarkable. And again, as we come together, everything will become clearer and clearer. So I thank you for being here. Ferris, I think I see another question before I bid fare thee well. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay. Or comment.
Melissa wrote in and she said, thank you so much for that. It demonstrated itself in my life. I'm struggling with such devastating grief. I just lost my only child, a triple Leo, a child of pure love. And I can't even have his memorial, and people are upset that I can't get it together. I was just diagnosed with a serious heart issue. My broken heart has become physical. And Melissa, I send you light.
I do, and I just want to encourage you, Melissa, to feel what you are feeling. Own that. Be where you are and go through it, however long it's going to take you. And as you go through it, love yourself. Really love yourself through it. That is, I can't imagine how difficult, well, actually, I can't imagine how difficult it is. My brother lost his son. And that was so hard, he was so young. And I know the difficulty you're going through. So feel what you feel and allow the process to move as it's supposed to. And you're right. The heart issue is around the fight that you're having between what people are telling you to do and what you know you need to do in order to care for yourself. And that's what's causing that issue. And you will see that it will subside when you start processing it as you're supposed to. And by the way, I just got a hit saying that you need to increase your magnesium. And so get Calm's magnesium if you're not already taking it, and start taking it every day before you go to bed. Be careful, start off slow. Your system isn't going to be able to handle it really well. So take like half the dose. If it says 1 tablespoon or teaspoon, then just do half of that. I think it says 2. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've looked at that, but I really feel strongly that that's important for you right now. Your heart needs it. Your body needs it. So anyways, thank you. This has been great fun. We've done it. We launched this new
We did.
Soul View.
And I've really enjoyed being Shivani.
Paris,
Down under.
You need to put some blue in your hair.
Yeah, that's true.
Your hair.
It wouldn't
Or on
show
your
up,
forehead.
Cindy. There's no place for it to stick.
On your forehead.
Everybody, Shivani has dyed her hair and she's got a blue strip in the front of
It's
her
really
bank.
fun.
I love it. It's so beautiful. So we're send her lots of love and light, and I everything is as it's supposed to be. Everything was perfect tonight. She will be with us in 2 weeks. And again, as we grow as a community, we'll be doing this, of course, live on Facebook. We will be doing this live on Zoom because we can simulcast, and then we will be putting it on our YouTube channel as well. And we'll be breaking this up into smaller bits so that it's a little more digestible for everybody that comes to our YouTube channel, and we'll make sure everybody gets that information.
And if you don't have it, we'll send you the link to the YouTube replay.
Yeah. So let's support each other in this journey. The time is now. And Lorelei, any last words you want to leave everyone with?
Just to keep an open heart, and just really to allow yourself to come alive, because what the world needs is your aliveness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So everybody, I want you to make a heart like this. And then put it up here. This is how we want to view the world.
Oh, nice.
The heart. Until we see you again, much love and light. Leave us lots of comments, and we will answer all your questions.
Namaste.
Namaste.
And I send you all light.